So we'll start by trying to give this body a little bit more detail. So you can see here, I'm not going to play around with the feet at all, but I do want to get the body established here. Start to get the bum established, this belly established. This knee is up and try and get it established, and try and get the shape coming down here and get all this general area here established first. We'll attack the head once we get the body. We got to make sure the body fits onto the head, or the head fits onto the body. So we get more of the body rounded and maybe some of the features in it, so that we can then address the head. Might even get into being able to get down and start to shape the arm a little bit on both sides, because in order to shape the head, we have to nearly be able to get into the side of the head. One thing I'll point out, and it's something that I found on this particular carving, that you really got to watch where the ears are. This ear here is way back under the arm, and there's no way you can carve that out of this until you eliminate some of the wood in here. You can't get access to it. So that peak in the hat was there for a reason, but the wood that's in behind, in this section in here, above that hole and below that hole there, it has to go in to accommodate this ear. Otherwise you're going to chop his ear off, and he's going to, well, I guess he can only have one ear if you want. But this one on this side isn't as critical because it's out, and you've got the wood in here to do that. So, and I guess you could always narrow down the face. He's got quite a bulbous face, so it's not that critical. So let's work a little bit on the body, and we'll start with the knee. Remember, we had the little square for the knee, and you can move that around a little bit, but once again there's a taper going in the side. So get out your big heavy gouge here, and let's start to shape that a little bit. I'm using the gouge upside down. And you can really mess this around a little bit. You can change the knee shape. When you do that, then of course you can change where the bottom of the foot and everything goes. So I'm making this area here somewhat bulbous, just kind of give it some round shape to it, and then go down below it and establish where that, if you look at the diagram, you see both of them together. Let's see. See how the pant comes up on an angle? So it starts from the hollow. Okay, that hollow we got there, and that was where we started, and it's going to come up to just below the knee. So where this is rounded around like this, that's going to join in and come more or less straight. And if you look at my finished one, it might give you a better handle. See how it comes up like that? So we can narrow down the calf part of his leg somewhat. So I'm going to use a V-tool to establish that shape. Give me my stop cut in there. It's starting to come. So can you see? Can you see where it comes up and around now, comes down, and then goes down the other side? So now it's obvious now that I can get rid of a fair bit of wood in here, but remember he's got, well, again, I guess you can change this shoe design too. But he's got this, what do you call that when they don't have to do up their shoes? Like the Velcro type boot. So like there's no laces there, but there's no reason, there's enough material there. If you want to put laces in, you can put laces in. But if you put laces in, don't forget that you've got the tongue that has to come up higher. So leave this section in here high if you're going to put laces in. But I followed the diagram and or the design, and it works good. But you see where I'm going here. Like if your finger has to be the width that you have to leave for the boot. So if you're going to narrow down this part of his leg, you can narrow it down, but make sure you leave that top part of his, the boot. Okay. And I would pick a gouge. This happens to be an 8mm number 9, and it would kind of fit in there because that's kind of the nice shape that I want in there. There's a whack of wood to take off, but there, are we in there? I'm leaving this run quite a bit, Tom, so that you can actually see what I'm doing. So I scooped some out of the top here just to get a general shape going, but you can see that I've left a fair bit of wood in here, and I'll even scoop out a little bit more because I want to have that tongue come up. Where am I? Here we go. So you see that I've scooped it out all the way around and took some off the sides here, just in general shape.
So that mark on the top of the shoe is not where the top of that tongue comes? That
That's
groove right
pretty
there?
close. Yeah, it's pretty close.
Okay.
It's a good guesstimate. Okay, so I want to point out something here, and everybody got this note in your reproduction, I believe, or did you?
Nope.
No, you didn't? All right, well then we'll discuss it. So this,
Should we write it in?
you can if you like. This foot here is really wide, isn't it? Okay, but in the diagram, they keep it relatively level. It's a little bit lower on this side and the toe a little bit higher on this side. So I exaggerated that and really dropped this side down quite a bit. I like the idea of that because that gave it a little bit more motion. Movement is always important. The feature I want to point out here is, see the width of this toe, and I'll use the back of this heel here to demonstrate how narrow the back of the heel is. Okay, so we got a really big toe and a narrow heel. You can also I can point out that it looks like this foot here is considerably narrower than this foot here at the toe. And it is, in fact, in the diagram, but I tried to address that by making it a little bit wider and this one a little bit narrower. Okay? So they came out pretty close to being the same size. So that's a feature that you should be aware of. It's not necessarily critical, but the other part of that is it looks like you've got a whole whack of material in here from top to bottom. And it's surprising how little you have, because as soon as you go to put those cleats in, they take up this much room on the bottom, okay? All right, so the caution here is don't whittle away the wood that you're going to need. And the shape is already there, like the bottom of that foot is already there. So just keep in mind that you've got to keep a lot of material in order to accommodate the cleats and the top of the boot. So what we're going to do is I'm going to leave it wide at the front. I'm going to drop this toe down just a little bit. Again, I'm still roughing out, but I want to narrow in the back. I want to get the back of the heel narrowed in. And what that does is it's going to give me better access to this other knee in here. All right, so that's where I'm going to address my next move here. So first of all, I'm going to drop this edge here a little bit. Let's go a bit wider. And then I'm going to change the shape of this by dropping and taking some material off the side of the toe. Maybe even a little bit more. And now I'm going to work my way back to the heel, and the heel is going to be about the size of your ankle. And we're going to have a hollow on the inside. So can you see how I'm hollowing in and creating some of the heel? That's looking at it from the bottom. Just don't take too much, but take enough to give you the idea of what is going to take place later on. So that now gives me a lot better access to this other knee. Okay. Okay, so now that we've got this heel more or less shaped in here, it'll give us better access to this knee in here. We've got quite a ridge we've left in here, and that can be moved somewhat because I want to be able to turn that. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to try and create that shape in there. I want to turn the corner a little bit. Just start to round that around. So can you see that? I've got right up from the top here right down to here. I've just more or less taken off that edge and somewhat rounded over the edge here. And then I'm going to attack the other side the same way. I'm just creating the knee. I'm not doing anything back in here yet. You can see I haven't addressed anything, just the point of the knee. I've just tried to establish where the point of the knee is going to be, and nothing more. Just get that rounded shape in there. Nothing too elaborate at this point. So now I've got this rounded here, but look at the shape of the knee here, and so it narrows down for the leg underneath the material, underneath the pants. So the one thing I want to point out, when you do the cutout, like this would be the extreme point. Somewhere in here I got another pen that's going to work. Like that is the furthest out of the side of the leg is going to be. So if we round it that way, take off these sharp edges, then it starts to give you the more the impression of how the leg is shaped. So just as we've rounded over, and this is the extreme point of the point of the knee, so this would be the extreme point of the back of the knee in here. Okay, so the cut is in there, so but just round this over, knock off all this edge here. So the same thing would apply on the inside as well. We're going to eliminate, just round it, just take that edge off there. We'll do that and then stop for our coffee break. Okay, let's talk about design again. And using the pattern. Can you see that this leg is raised up? And that's his left leg. And the distance here is shorter than the distance here. Well, if you're stretching out, trying to indicate that the picture is standing on one leg and he's kind of somewhat stretched out, then that's why the designer Dave Stetson has widened this. So the result is what has happened in my finished one. So you can see it's squinched up here, not quite the same amount of space in here, whereas in this leg here, in his right leg, it's stretched out somewhat, and I even did it likely more than what he did in his diagram. But either way, you've got a double notch in the back of your leg here. So the highest notch is going to be for where the knee actually bends, and the secondary notch, which is down here, is going to be where the material ends. So we're going to put a line through there and start working on that. Now his boot is quite a bit lower, and so we're going to create a little bit of a slope in here, so that this is the area now that I'm going to work on. Okay. Something else to make note of while we got this diagram, there's two different shapes to the feet. This guy has got a curved toe downwards, and this is the other way. And that's the way the rough out is. See how the cutout here is, the curve is similar to that, and this one here has got the bend in it like that. So that's why the two different shapes, because he's standing on his toe. Okay, so we're going to round over that piece there, and again I'll just use a V tool to separate it and then work from there. You notice it's not quite as much bend in there as what you'd think there would be. So I'm going to come around and meet that little notch that was left there when I did the saw cut. Now I have to make that meet that piece over there.
It's the bottom notch that you're...
The notch at the bottom half of the his pants.
Yeah.
That's what I'm working on, yeah. And then the notch for where his shoe is going to be. And that can be adjusted, it doesn't have to end up there. Remember that this guy has got some pretty big legs. He's not what you call skinny, and that kind of matches his torso. So don't be, if you want to make him skinny, then you can mess around with that too. And then you can use a gouge or a knife to remove out, start to narrow down the leg in between. I usually always use a gouge, but I noticed a lot of people use a knife, so today it's a knife. And again, we're just roughing out, we're not giving detail because we got to establish ankles and things like that yet. We're just establishing an outside shape, nothing fancy here. So it looks something like that. And I'll go ahead and just do a kind of a general shape on the toe. Knock off the corners all the way around.
The upper one is, yeah, I'm not sure if that one, this one is the top of the shoe. Oh, that looks big.
Yeah, that's good enough for now.
Well,
I'll pass this around.
we
Set up more or less the lower, the legs, below from the knee down. So let's kind of start to get the body shape going here. And if you can see in the diagram here, he's got quite a sweep in the shape. His belly hangs over his hip, and there's a little bit of a hollow in the back. Remember I told you to put a mark in there? And that's that mark there. So what we want to do is we want to try and get that sweep going here. So we're going to bring it down and around, something like that. So now that is a V cut, okay? So now the back of his pants, if you follow that around, then starts to loop down. Let's just continue that shape. So now we're going to go to the back of his body here, and the hollow is in here for that section right there. Hold it up like that so you can see it. All right, so the hollow is already in the cut. All right, so if we can exaggerate that a little bit by bringing that down, so you can see I've got this, maybe it should be a little bit straighter so that it comes down on more of an angle, and then up on the other side to create the belly coming up inside. Might be able to see it better on my finished one here. See how the belly comes around and then the knee kind of scrunches it up in here. So that ties in with this area over here by this knee coming up, pushes up on all the fat, okay? So this shape here has to be created in here. It's going to come down the side of his leg there. So again, it's just a V tool to start to indicate where that shape's going to be. Remember that the cut is at the lowest point. So it's just a V cut in there. Now we're not gonna create the belt. We're not gonna give any detail. We're just gonna indicate where our division is between his belly and his leg or palm. Clean that up a bit. So basically all we done is create a stop cut.